You got a question, a good one. Did ancient people ever really notice fossils?
Yeah.
Not just trip over them, but like actually think about them.
Right.
And you're particularly curious about Southern Africa, where some of our earliest ancestors were living.
Yeah.
Well, get ready because the answer goes way beyond a simple yes.
What's so fascinating is that Southern Africa is practically overflowing with fossils.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We're talking about places like the Karoo supergroup. Huge stretches of exposed rock layers, just teeming with prehistoric remnants. And it's not just in, remote areas either.
Yeah.
You find these striking glimpses into the distant past along coastlines even embedded in cave walls.
It's like having a prehistoric museum right in your backyard. So for our listener, it makes perfect sense to wonder if those early humans simply lived among these relics or if they actually found meaning in them.
And that's where our main source material for this deep dive comes in. This paper from PLOS 1, it's titled A Possible Later Stone Age Painting of a Dicynodont.
Ah.
And it suggests that they definitely noticed. What we're exploring today is how they might have thought about these fossils.
And we've also got some additional research to add context to this, but we'll get to that later. To really dig into this, let's imagine for a moment that we're living in Southern Africa thousands of years ago.
Okay.
What's one of the most prominent things we'd be encountering in our day-to-day lives?
Well, apart from the incredible wildlife, which must have been awe-inspiring in its own right, those fossils would be pretty hard to miss.
Yeah.
Imagine, not just stumbling upon massive bones,
Right.
but having them be part of the very landscape itself, embedded in the walls of caves, a constant presence in your world.
That's a powerful image.
Mhm.
And you know what else? You mentioned caves earlier. It makes me think about how those environments would preserve even more than just bones.
You're right. Think about trackways,
Yeah.
fossilized footprints. Unlike bones that can get scattered over time, tracks are often preserved for much longer.
Oh, interesting.
Exposed on the surface for generations to see. It's like a message from the past, literally etched in stone.
Oh.
Those would have been hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about the impact these traces of ancient life could have had on the people who lived among them. And speaking of surprising encounters with the past, there's a story from the 1800s highlighted in the research about a French paleontologist who received a fossil from a rather unexpected source.
He did.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
So he got this fossil, a Mesosaurus to be precise, not from a fellow scientist or an explorer,
Okay.
but from a member of the Greeka people.
Wow.
They were using it as a lid for a pot.
A pot lid.
A pot lid. Can you imagine?
Wow.
That completely changes how we view this object. To them, it wasn't just some random fossil. It was something integrated into their daily lives.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And here's the kicker. That very same Mesosaurus fossil went on to become a crucial piece of evidence in proving the theory of continental drift. The Greco were interacting with a piece of scientific history long before, science even caught up.
It really makes you wonder what else they understood about the world around them. They were clearly paying attention. But this brings us to a pivotal question. Why collect these fossils? Were they purely practical tools, or did they hold some deeper significance?
To explore that, we need to shift gears a bit and talk about another recurring theme in this research: quartz crystals. They keep popping up in archaeological sites alongside these fossils, and the reasons why are quite intriguing.
Okay, I'm listening. What's so special about quartz? It's pretty sure, but there had to be more to it than that, right?
Well, you're right. Quartz is aesthetically striking. It sparkles, it catches the light in a way that other rocks don't. But there are clues that suggest its significance went beyond simple aesthetics. It might have held a deep spiritual meaning for these ancient people.
Okay, so how does quartz go from pretty rock to something more profound?
Think about the role of a shaman, like a spiritual leader, in these ancient cultures.
Okay.
The research suggests they might have used quartz crystals to connect with the spirit world, perhaps even as a way to, induce visions.
Like those crystals were a bridge between the physical and the spiritual.
Right.
And there's that example from the Oakhurst shelter mentioned in the paper. They found a quartz crystal placed in the eye socket of a child's burial,
Yeah.
almost like they were trying to ensure the child could still see in the afterlife.
Yeah. It's a powerful image. And then there's the phenomenon known as triboluminescence. Triboluminescence, it's the ability of some materials, including quartz, to emit light when rubbed or struck.
Wait, so these crystals could actually spark in the dark?
Yeah.
Suddenly those shamanic rituals are sounding a lot more dramatic. It would be easy to believe these stones held supernatural power if you saw that.
Imagine witnessing that in a cave thousands of years ago, surrounded by darkness.
Wow.
It makes you wonder if that played a role in how they perceived these crystals. But moving from the spiritual to the artistic, we have to ask, did ancient people see fossils represented in their beliefs? Did they create art inspired by these remnants of the past?
Now we're getting to the heart of the mystery. This is where things get really interesting because the research actually points to some possible examples of this in ancient rock art.
It does.
Yeah.
And while we need to approach this with a healthy dose of caution, after all, we can't assume that every squiggle in rock art is meant to represent a fossil. There are some compelling cases that make you wonder.
Exactly. Let's take a look at some of these, starting with the Mokali Cave in Lesotho. The paper mentions paintings there that bear a striking resemblance to dinosaur footprints, even depicting what could be the dinosaurs themselves.
Right. And it's not just a localized phenomenon if we, connect this to the broader picture. There are similar sites in North America with rock art seemingly inspired by dinosaur tracks. It seems people all over the world were taking notice of these traces of the past.
It's incredible to think that humans on different continents, separated by vast distances, might have looked at these tracks and seen similar things. But the research also mentions some intriguing rock art from South Africa. The Sevilla rock art, right?
Right.
What makes those depictions so interesting?
Well, unlike the dinosaur tracks, the creatures depicted in the Sevilla paintings don't really resemble any animals alive today.
Yeah.
We see these long-necked, somewhat reptilian figures. Some researchers believe they might have been inspired by fossils of Permian reptiles.
Permian reptiles.
Yeah, so the Permian period, which predated the dinosaurs by millions of years, was a time when reptiles really thrived. It's possible the Sand People, known for their incredible tracking skills, were piecing together the appearance of these creatures from the fossils they found.
Hold on, so we're saying they might have been able to look at fossils and extrapolate what these ancient creatures look like. That's next-level observation.
Yeah.
It's like they were the original paleontologists.
What a fascinating possibility, isn't it? The Sand People were renowned for their ability to read the subtlest clues in the environment, to track animals based on, the faintest impressions.
Right.
It's not a stretch to imagine them applying those same skills to fossils, essentially reconstructing the past from these fragments.
That kind of observation, that ability to connect the dots between the present and the distant past, it's incredible. It really challenges our assumptions about ancient people.
It really does make you think. It's not like they were just focused on survival, right?
Yeah.
They were deeply engaged with the world around them, trying to make sense of it just like we do today. And it makes you wonder, what will future generations think about our relationship with fossils? How will they interpret our collections, our research, even our art?
Wow, that's quite the thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're so focused on trying to understand the past. It's humbling to think about how we might be viewed by those looking back at us from the future.
Yeah, we might think of our understanding of fossils as advanced.
Yeah.
But what if, thousands of years from now, our museums and scientific journals
Right.
seem just as curious to future generations as that Greeka pot lid does to us?
Imagine them finding a dinosaur skeleton in a museum and wondering if we worship them as gods, or digging up one of our paleontology textbooks
Right.
and thinking it was some kind of sacred text.
It really highlights how knowledge is constantly evolving.
Right.
What we consider groundbreaking today might be revised or completely overturned by future discoveries.
That's what's so exciting about all of this, isn't it?
Yeah.
The pursuit of knowledge never really ends. There's always something more to learn, to uncover, to question.
Exactly. And that's what I find so inspiring about this whole topic. It reminds us that, we're part of this long chain of curiosity,
Yeah.
stretching back to our earliest ancestors and forward into the future.
So to our listener who asked about ancient people and fossils, I hope this deep dive has given you more than just an answer. We've seen how fossils might have been used as tools, woven into spiritual practices, even sparked artistic expression. But more than that, I hope this has sparked a sense of wonder.
Yeah.
A realization that the past isn't some, fixed, unchanging thing. It's constantly being rediscovered, reinterpreted.
Who knows? Maybe someday, far in the future, someone will be doing a deep dive into our time,
Yeah.
trying to piece together the puzzle of who we were and what we believed.
And maybe, just maybe, they'll discover that our fascination with fossils, That sense of awe and wonder at the vastness of time and the incredible diversity of life, that's something that connects us all across the ages.
Now that's a legacy worth leaving behind.